Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, good.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of RMC, I'd like to thank Dr. Rasul for his initiative to present this webinar titled Pure Tips for PhD Presentation. It is a good platform for students to improve their skills and also understand what point will be taken during this presentation. So please be reminded to mute your microphones, and if you have any questions, to put them in the chat box. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Rasul. Thank you, Dr. Rasul.
Thank you. Thank you, Puan Sal. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Very good afternoon to students in Malaysia and probably in the Indian continent. Maybe you are having lunch now. And for those from the Africa continent, probably very early morning. So some of you might be having breakfast, some of you may be on lunch. But anyway, I'm here actually not to make you guys lose your appetite eating. I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys so that I can share a lot of things with you guys, so much so that in the future, it's much easier for you to face the proposal defense as well as the viva. So we can start now our presentations. But as reminded by Puan San, no question via verbal. All questions must be posted over the chat box, and I will answer this question at the end of this session. And so that for those who have a question, just post your question in the chat box. Now, this is the topics of my presentation today. Tips for PhD presentation. By the way, if you notice below there, even though I look old, but I'm not professor because I spent 11 years in banking and then 16 years of business. So while doing business, I'm doing my PhD, my master, and the last 10 years only I'm involved in teaching. So what I'm trying to share with you, my experience during the PhD journey. Can move to the second slide. Okay, this is going to be my outline for today. Difference between pure and PD and viva. A lot of students ask this question. What is the difference between these two? Or between these three? I will give you a brief explanation on this particular pure, PD, and viva. The next topic will be, what are you supposed to present? What are you supposed to prepare? What are you supposed to share with your audience while you're presenting your paper, either for PD, for viva, for anywhere presentations in the world? Number 3 would be why. Why you want to do that subject? This is method of justification. In fact, as I see it, the method why here is the heart of your thesis. Either you're doing master in science, master science or PhD. Number 3, justification, motivation, problem statement is the heart of your thesis. And the next one, this where referring to literature review, that you have to go through as a student, as a PhD candidate or MSc candidate. This is the one that is laborious, tedious, somehow or other you have to go through to enhance your knowledge, enhance your understanding, enhance the particular matters that you are talking about, the subject matter. And enhance meaning not only say that how much you understand, you have to go really deep behind it to make yourself more prepared. And number 5 is how. You need to say down here, what is the methodology that you're going to use in achieving or answering all the research questions and also achieving your objective. And the number 6, analysis, interpretations of results. It is important here where you analyze it properly, appropriately, and correctly. That's more important. And in relate to all the why, when, and how. And number 7, contribution to the body of knowledge. And lastly, policy implication. Next slide. Okay, this is the difference between pure, PD, and viva. Pure referring to Putra Business School colloquium. Colloquium means to say that we are giving our PhD candidate and also MSc candidate to show their progress in their papers to the examiners. We have conducted twice before, and this end of this month going to be the third one. So I'm going to tell you what you need to present, what you need to say during the presentation, and I will divide some of you, up to the PD level, and maybe the rest will be up to the viva level. Even that, when you listen for the PD purposes, you need to listen for viva, because the next step after you pass your PD, you have to perform your viva. So pure referring to a short name, acronym to Putra Business School. And PD is a proposal defense. This is where after you completed your 3 chapters, you have to present it. But of course, you need to get the approval from your supervisor. Not necessary that once you submit to your supervisor, both supervisor, that even automatically you are entitled to do the presentation for the PD. The supervisor will tell you what needs to be done, and don't force your supervisor to force you to present, because there are many cases when the supervisor are being forced because of whatever reason behind it. At the end of the day, your proposal defense was a total failure, and because of that, you have to redo the whole thing. You have to represent the whole thing, and this take time. So it can be very costly to you if you did not listen to what your supervisor going to say. And viva, it is a one for those who have already passed the proposal defense, and then you need to prepare again all the completed set of the PhD. Then your supervisor will tell you whether you are ready or not for viva. Meaning to say, at that level, you have already achieved all the research objective as well as the research question. This is the one which is very, very what you call very tiring work. Very tiring work. Sometimes you cannot sleep. Sometimes not because you want to sleep, you cannot sleep, just because that thing is bogging your mind. So you have to spend a lot of time in it, understanding the whole thing, and be prepared yourself. Okay, the next chapter. Oh, by the way, for this colloquium, they'll be present for them. Am I right? They'll be present, and we have 4 group. One is finance, number 2 is marketing, number 3 is management, number 1, the last one, sorry, accounting. Yeah, number that before. Then all you guys will be break up to different room, and then the detail. I will not tell you what's the detail of this on the pure on the colloquium day. The detail we provided to you guys who participated. As of yesterday, I was made to understand 67 of you have registered for this colloquium for all the 4 disciplines. And for today, the registration for today presentation is about 130, 140. I'm not too sure exactly how many now. The whole idea is for you to listen to me and to take what is relevant to you, or try to for me to share what I need to share with you guys. All right. The next slide. So what do you want to do? That is a very important thing. Whenever you see your professor or your intended professor or the potential professor will ask you one question: what actually that you want to do? This is the heart to the whole thing. This is where your journey starts. The journey between you and supervisor start. What you want to do? There was a lot of questions we posted to you so that you really understand what you want to do. In Malay, don't shock sendiri want to do. Meaning to say, in English term, you feel good, want to do something. Not necessarily that could be the best topic for you. But I can share with you my experience. I would like to do something that close to my heart. I did my PhD in income inequality, meaning to see the gap between the rich and the poor. So I know what it is. So I wanted to do further, and I want to contribute either to the country, or at least to me personally, what is the reason for the widening gap of income inequality. So first and foremost, you have to, in your first slide, you have to indicate your presentations for that particular colloquium is a doctoral colloquium or MSc colloquium. For the PD, it's the same thing. Yeah, you just pick a doctoral for PD or doctoral for viva, whatever it is. Now you have to indicate. That will tell the examiner when during the colloquium, examiner will be given a piece of paper where they need to grade you according to the matrix. So you have to tell them what are you doing in front there. And the most important thing is that title of the thesis. Title of the thesis may be long, maybe 20 words, maybe long. But sometimes people tend to use a very bombastic word in the title, so much so at a glance the reader will not understand what you're trying to do. It sounds so big. In PhD presentation, if you use too many of this bombastic language or jargon, the examiner or the panel examiner did not understand. They will ask a lot of questions. So as far as me, if I'm the examiner, I would ask you, give me a very simple term, what it is, what you're trying to do. For example, in my PhD, I would say that what's the impact of financial development on Gini coefficient? So not many people know what is Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is an index that calculates the difference between the rich and the poor. The gap, that's what we. So need to explain a bit. So simple, the title need to be maybe bombastic, but the way you explain it, make it at one glance, the audience or the examiner understand what you're trying to say down here. Name of candidate, you have to remind them what is your name. What is your name, so that they don't have to ask you, hey, what your name? That's not right. So you read your slide, you write your name, and of course you give due respect to both of your supervisor. If you have 3 supervisors, put all the 3 supervisors. This is a due respect to his supervisor, and these supervisors are very experienced. We have gone through so many things, then we give you proper advice. That is what you should share public. And the tips, make your slide simple. Make your slide simple, no fancy background, no animation. I don't want that. Or at this presentation, either for colloquium, for proposal defense, or for viva, you click next page and then the page come up with something running, a rabbit running around, or butterfly coming here, jumping all over the places. That's not supposed to be at the PhD level. You can make it slow, but then again, don't waste so much time. It's good that when you change the next slide, just straight away give the next slide. Do not add timing on that. No animation. Don't rush. This is what a lot of students, because they are so nervous. A lot of them, before the presentation, they got butterfly in their tummy. As a result of that, they are jumpy. Maybe 1 week before then, they cannot sleep, they cannot eat and whatnot, because it's very important. So to avoid this, it's quite normal. I went through the same thing. In fact, when I would need to present at international level or local level, I still feel the butterfly in tummy. It is normal. But how do you overcome that? That's more important. You overcome it by make yourself well prepared. So as a result of that, when you present clearly. Again, present clearly. Examiner need time to absorb. You cannot rush. You cannot rush, because when you rush, you force examiner to absorb, and at the end of the day, you try to move to the next sentence that you want to say, you want to highlight. Examiner doesn't understand the earlier sentences. This will be detrimental to your proposal, to your presentation. And I said just now, use simple term, a term that layman can understand. If you think that there is no simple term, explain in your own way. Another thing is that always use PowerPoint. And then when you put on your slide, always put the point. That's why we call it PowerPoint. We need how power is your point. So as a result of that, do not copy and paste. I know that you guys are very good in Control-C, Control-V. Everybody is expert in that. So you tend to copy paste from here and there and put the whole sentence. That's not the way we present at the PhD level. We present only the key point. What is more important is for you to present. Not how you present, but how your audience reception that matters. So you maybe try to rush and whatnot. That's not important. What important is that if you can rush and make the audience understand, then I bet it should be okay. But more often than not, the audience will take time to present, to understand, to absorb what you're trying to present. So always use keywords and bullet point. When you write, when you paste the whole sentence down there in your slide, then you have the tendency to read. This is what common. My students always do that. When you have the tendency to read, then you are not presenting your project. You are not presenting your PhD. You are newscaster. You are not newscaster. Remember that you are not newscaster. You are supposed to present your PhD. Present important part in your life. So make it simple and make people understand, and use key point, whatever points that you want to use, so that at a glance people understand. Study has shown it. If you use more diagram or bullet points, I think people can absorb better. People will not read. The audience will not read what you write down there. Okay, next slide, please. This is the heart, the one that I mentioned just now, the heart. Why? Justification, motivation, problem, statement. Why conduct the study? Common question. What is your motivation? Why you want to do it? Problem statement. You put in a problem statement, but inside the problem statement is actually the intention of your research. The objective of your research is all in there. It's the heart. So if the heart is wrong, you're understanding it wrongly, and then you will not be able to answer whatever the research question, whatever the research objective. So understanding what you want to present. For example, like my case, just about 5 years ago, I want to present about income inequality. So I said, economy growing for the past 40 years. But why so many poor people? A lot of people saying that when the economy grow, then the poor become richer. But unfortunately, figures have shown it. The only country in the world that reduce their income inequality in a very substantial is China. China over the last 40 years are able to exit their poor people from this exit cocoon, from this poverty cocoon in the region of 700 million over 40 years. Their economy grow, and then many other things grow. But many part of the world, what grow is that the gap. The rich become richer, the poor become poor. I want to know why. And my PhD is in Islamic finance. Can Islamic finance help reduce this income inequality? So that's my motivation. So what do I do now? I look into it, and then I said, I need to go further into this, and then I need to find the reason behind it. So that is your problem statement. What are you trying to solve? Why matters? You see, in the case of income inequality, there's a study done by Richard Wilkinson and Kat Pickett in these G20 countries, the developed countries. They find out that when the gap getting wider, there's a lot of social problems. Number one, teenage birth increase. Number two, crime rate. Number three, shortened lifespan. And number four, there's so many other social problems. There's only about 12 or 13 other reasons. So why? Economy has grown. People thought when economy has grown, then we can resolve this income inequality problem. But in actual fact, no. There are many reasons to it. Could be education. Some people know education, then they cannot get a good job. Because technology, some people know the technology. Nowadays, people, those with a very good knowledge on technology, the skill in technology, they can earn high income. They don't need to have PhD. They don't even to have their master and even degree, but they earn high income. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they don't employ people with degree anymore. That is not the criteria. When people interview them, why don't the degree is no more important to them? Is that they will test whether you can do the work or not. That's more important, because when you are employed, now you are supposed to do the work according to your supervisor, according to your superior. So if you cannot do work, even though you have whatever degree that you have, see no point. So nowadays, skill is important. So that's matter. And then technology, what else? Globalization. There's many reasons. And after that, you come to research objective and question. So now, the tips here is that provide brief background of the study. So in this brief backgrounds, you have to start. You have to start with the bigger, then become smaller. From the global perspective to the regional perspective, and maybe to the country perspective. I always tell my students, when to highlight something, you have to give them chance for them to understand what you're trying to do. So always start with the forest. Only then you go to the trees. And if you need to see the river, then you go to river, analogy. So this is what you're supposed to do. Start broad and with specific idea, so that people can follow what you're trying to say, what you're trying to do research. When they understand this part, it's easier for them to understand the next slide. Now, problem statement must clear and concise, indicate the gap that you intend. Some students, what they did is that they look into the literatures, and they look into the last part is a limitation of the study of that literature. And they thought there's a gap. No, that's not necessarily the gap. The gap can be in many forms. It can be many forms. Could be there is research done before, but maybe in technology it's not available, or the econometric technique is not available, so it cannot be completed. It could be there is a total need. For example, like now, COVID-19. What is the impact of COVID-19? It impacts all across the board, across the world. impact all. So we want to know why and what the bridge that we're going to. And for your information, don't try to be so ambitious. You see, when you do first degree, it's very wide because everything's superficial. And then when you go higher, you do your master maybe slightly deeper, but it's still quite wide, quite broad. But when PhD, it's become narrow, but then deep, narrow and deep. If you try to hit too many birds with one stone, then at the end of the day, you might not be able to complete. You see, my problem, I delayed in my PhD because I was too ambitious. I wanted to do what's the impact of wakaf on income inequality, because I was teaching wakaf then. So I wasted 1 year trying to look for the information, for the data, so that I can run econometric. I can show, because PhD in Islamic finance, you must use econometric. PhD in finance, you must use in econometric. Without econometric, there's nothing for you to prove. Unless you are a very smart guy, very good in mathematics, you want to come up with your own theory, then different story. Right? But even that also, you still need to. So if you don't have data, you cannot do. So what I'm trying to say here, at the early stage, at this stage, what you want to do, you have to look whether data is available. That will help you a lot. If data not available, it's not manageable, then you're going to start. Me, I wasted 1 year because I was too ambitious. I'm not shy to share with you guys what experience I went through. And the next thing is that always use basic font, minimum 20-point font size. This is what I recommend. Because some quite number of supervisors, they're quite old. Sometimes they cannot see clearly. So as a result of that, when you write too small font, 14 or 12, they cannot read, then they ask you, disturb. When they keep asking you why you're presenting, it will disturb your momentum. This is not good. So try to use 20-point font size, and don't cram into the center. Don't cram into the center. This is good, not good. When you cram everything into the center, then it becomes small. You have the whole slide with you, make full use of it. A clear presentations. Next slide, please. Where and when? This is the literature review. I was told by my professor, by two of my professors last time, I need to read at least 150 literatures before I can actually write literature review. Wow, I said, that's laborious. For my age, at the age of 50 plus, doing PhD, I read 50 minutes, I sleep 20 minutes. That's a problem. So, but then again, I have to do it because that's the process we are going to. That's part of the journey. You have to read. You have to read, but while reading, then is where you have to produce some metrics. I think you learn in the research methodology what you are supposed to do. A metric, first the title. Number 2 is the year. Number 3 is the research, the problem or research objective. Number 3, the next one, finding or methodology that you use or the variable that you use. These are the metrics that will help you. Use established name of theory and year. Now, a lot of students, they do not know what is the basic theory. For example, when it talk about in management, human behavior, you got to mention the commonly used theory in human behavior. For example, like theory of reason action, theory of planned behavior, or theory of technology adoption, something like that. All this you have to, in capital structure, the pecking order theory, or the trade-off theory, you need to know this basic theory. You pronounce it confidently and tell them, show to them, your audience, your panel, that you know what you're doing. So the theory will guide you what is your next step. If more than one theory, highlight the most referred. Now, in the theory, this is what you're trying to do. This is your dependent variable. And then this is a functions of X, or what you call as a independent variable. So you want to see what is the relationship. Can you hear me? Is good? It's clear? Okay, you see now, we want to see what's the impact of this X on Y. You have to explain a bit the theory. What is that theory all about? It's a behavior will lead to intention will lead to action. This is what I'm trying to say. So a behavior, for example, adoption of Islamic banking. The behavior is about intention to open an account. And then from that intention lead to this action. So then intention is one of them. And then maybe knowledge because of religious obligations in this TPB theory. So you add in and then you try to show at the end of the day opening account. Slide again. I think you don't have to change the camera. No need, because they can see this presentation. Keep this here, right? Is it necessary? Don't have to, right? Okay, good. So if more than one theory, highlight the most referred. Are there any conflicting theories? You see now, because of so many studies have been done, every day thousands of papers have been produced. So theories maybe not every day, but empirical a lot. But meanwhile, theories also got conflicting theories. So when you have conflicting theories, you have to explain what is it, because in the one theory is saying that X cause Y to change, the impact of X on Y. But other theories saying the other way around, the impacts on Y on X. So you have to explain. And sometimes what do you do is that when you summarize in your literature review, it's better that you tabulate. Tabulate meaning to say, like you use this. This is literature review and then theory. And whatever theory that you have, theory A, theory B, theory C, theory D. It could be more theories. And then this theory could be conflicting. So what you do is that to make yourself understand or remember while presenting, you make a simple diagram like this. The impact of this is negative or positive, or sometimes what you call is regional based. In Europe like this, in US it's like this, in developed countries like this, or sometimes they could be causality. So all this, if you have this kind of literature review in the form of a summary like this, it's easier for you to present it. And same thing with empirical. This is literature review. You come up with another one is empirical. Empirical studies a lot empirical study. While you doing the matrix, the one that I mentioned earlier, you have to pick up whether the relationship is positive, negative, or insignificant. And remember, insignificant mean it's not important. Insignificant is also important. It's also finding. You have to explain what is insignificant. Why? In this study, this particular independent variable is significant. However, in your study, it's not significant. When you say not significant, that it doesn't stop there. You have to explain why it's not significant. This is important because not significant or insignificant finding is also finding. So the audience need to know, the examiner need to understand what you're trying to present and why the findings is as such. You have to explain the logic. Explain logic meaning to say in a simple term why. For example, like just now, education increase then reduce the income inequality. Logic, because without education you cannot get maybe higher salary. However, nowadays the education maybe need to expand it, talking about skill. Then that one may be reflected, processed by the number of years in working in the technology advanced companies. That could be another explanation. They may not have the proper certificate, proper degree, but they have other kind of certificate, other kind of degree, which entitle them to get the higher salary. So that's why every government nowadays, they must say that education is one of the most important element for them to improve the poverty, or to improve the poverty level, or to reduce the income inequality. And lastly, the theoretical framework. Theoretical framework is summarize what was your finding in the literature review. You have read all, you have understand all, then you know. And then after that you come out. You come out, you see what you mean you come out is that you come out, one is your dependent variable and your independent variable. There could be many. So this is what you want to study. This is what you want to study. This is what your theoretical. Then you have to explain. If you use a mediating variable or moderating variable, in finance we call it interaction term, then you have to indicate what are these mediating variable represents, what you're trying to achieve. what you're trying to do here. So in this way, the examiner can picture, get a better idea of what you're trying to do. You're going deeper, deeper, deeper. And then you bring the examiner together with you, your journey here, deeper and deeper. Next slide. How? Methodology. Once you understand all this part, you have done all your literature review, you went through 150 literatures, but remember, even though you went through 150 literatures, maybe 10 of them is your focal literatures. Take note of these 10, maybe try to remember these 10 focal variables and what this focal variable gives you. For example, maybe the methodology, this is what we want to cover. Maybe the independent variable, the dependent variable. So now, you have to explain what is your research design. Meaning to say, is it a quantitative or qualitative? Or it can be, sometimes, you try to be very ambitious, you want to do both, but I don't advise to do that. And another thing is that, depending on the situation, there may be a situation you might have two dependent variables, but more often than not, only one dependent variable in finance, mostly. And after that, explain the jargon. For example, like I said just now, the Gini coefficient, I explain what it is. And then you in that field, you know what is the jargon. Try to use a simple term. If you have terms you cannot find, explain to them. And then this data source, tell the audience, tell the examiner where you want to get this data, where you want to extract the data. If you want to get primary data, then you conduct survey. And you explain survey, where do you want to do? You want to do only in Malaysia? Or you want to do in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia? Or you want to do the whole world? Or maybe in one organization? Whatever it is, that is the scope. You have to tell. You want to get in the primary data via questionnaire. But it doesn't mean that it is a qualitative. It's still a quantitative. What model to test the hypothesis? Why? This model should explain what is the baseline model, what is the next model. For example, you want to test this Y is a Gini coefficient, and then your X could be financial development. Your constant, and then your X, this one is your beta, and then number 2 could be beta 2 is your GDP, and then could be number 3 is could be beta 3, maybe education, and could be others. So you put it nicely, this will be your model for the study, and of course the white noise. You have to explain what it is. You have to, when you present it in this methodology, you have to show this is going to be your baseline model. After that, if you want to improve further this model, what is the impact of corruption on Gini coefficient, corruption level, what we call as a governance or institutional level. So theoretically, this is my finding. In developed countries, as the corruption level go down, the income of the poor people higher. Meaning to say, the relationship between corruption and income of the poor people is negative. The corruption level go down and the income, simply because whatever government expenditure is being spent to the intended purposes, and the objective, the subject matter, the target of this benefit, the poor people, they get the benefit. But if the corruption level is high, then the money go to the pocket of those administrators or maybe the policymakers. So this is what important for you to explain. But somehow or other, that one does not apply in developing countries or the third world countries, simply because in third world countries, a lot of employment is done by the informal sector. They got two sectors: formal sector, the one you have companies in the government; informal sector is the one you don't have the company, or sometimes you call underground economy or shadow economy. And this company normally they don't register. If they register, will cost a lot of money to them. And when the government impose the rule of law or strengthen the rule of law, they say that every company need to be registered. And then as a result of that, there are other conditions that will incur costs as far as the company is concerned. So as a result of that, the company expenses increase, and the company might close down, or company got to terminate the workers. Or they cannot take new workers, the workers from immigrant and whatnot. So as a result of that, these people cannot work. And because of the institutional quality improve, the rule of law improve, then employment improve also. And sorry, unemployment getting higher. So this is what you have to explain, the logic of it. Technique, why? Why you want to use SPSS? Why you want to use Tata, GMM, or the GAS, MGAS, all this? You need to explain why. Don't simply speak, I know this, I do not know the others. That's wrong. No, the examiner will kick your ass. No, that's not supposed to be. You are doing PhD. When doing PhD, you are supposed to be a scholar. A scholarly article is the one who actually know what they're doing. And then you know the alternative too. And then when you chose GMM over OLS, over SPSS, why? Because that one is more suitable, and then they can overcome the indigeneity problem. This is sometimes you need to understand, you need to know why. And how to do it? Go back to the chapter where you're talking about the literature. Why you people choose that literature, right? Data screening is normal procedure where you have to go through, and some of the technique can interpolate, some of the technique cannot. So some of them, because there are so many missing data, then you have to probably drop the whole variable. And when you drop this variable, you have to explain to why you couldn't get the data. Then that's acceptable. But of course, you must have find other things. If that variable is mostly referred by all that study in that particular area, then you have to take that variable, and no matter what, you still got to find it. Because if other people can find the data, why can't you? You need to explain that. Another thing is, sometimes you try to impress the examiner with mountains of data. At this stage, the examiner doesn't need to know all this data. They need how well you know about this data. You don't show in your screen so many data. That's not the way. No, they got bored with it. They see data every day. What your explanation is important. If they need further, then they will ask you later. And robustness, meaning to say, robustness is about how robust is your model. Sometimes you use other alternative proxy to financial development. Financial development, there may be two. There may be private credit, that one is liquid liability. These are the alternative. So if you change to other variable, a proxy to the same focal variable, then the result could be different. So that is why robustness. If the results the same, then it's good. It is good analysis, it's a good technique, then you can go further. But if it's the result produced different, it doesn't mean that you don't show. You still can show it, but there must be explanation towards it. Don't try to backstep through all the way, start a new one to something else. No, that shouldn't be the way. Because by that time, you already spent at least, what I would say, maybe 6 years. Maybe 6 months. Some of you maybe take 1 year. So look into it and discuss with your supervisor. Next page, please. Okay. Now this is the final slide as for your presentation. But this one is sorry, I forgot to mention just now. The last two slides, this analysis interpretation, and the earlier one is on what is it, methodology, isn't it? The earlier one, the earlier slide. Yeah. This is for proposal defense. For those in a proposal defense, you need to prepare 3 chapters, and then your chapter will be up to here, methodology. And the supervisor will guide you what you need to prepare. But for those who are doing viva, which is the next slide, you have to move to this analysis, the interpretation of result. Provide salient facts. By that time, you already have all your data. You already have all your variables. You know everything. What is the econometric metrics, the econometrics, and that is the best way that you tabulate. You tabulate again. Salient stats, statistic. There could be many. So you tabulate here. So easy for you to explain and easy for the audience, for the examiner to understand what was your stat. Is it consistent with your methodology? This is most important. Provide simplified findings. Then when you say provide simplified findings, it's maybe you need the next page, one research question, one finding. One research objective, one research question, one finding. If you need 3 pages, okay, go ahead, 3 pages. Or maybe in the 1 page, then if you can simplify, then you put in 1 page the research question 1 or objective 1, and then this is the finding. R2, research question 2, R2, this is the finding. You write your finding in simplified form, and then you explain what is your finding. Is it negative? Is it positive? Or is it insignificant? All these are, and when you think about this significance or not, you have to explain at what level, significance level. Maybe 0.001 or 0.5 or 0.1, depends. Whatever it is, up to you, that you need to explain. Provide simplified findings, a table, explain its result clearly in relation to the RO and RQ, research objective, and the research question. Direction of the relationship. Every finding must provide the rationale. Important attribute, voice, facial expression, and body language. We are human beings, we are not robot. When human being, we know whether you understand what it is because of expression of your face. And then when you explain to people, give time for them to understand. And try to look into the eyes of the examiner. Look to the eyes of the examiner, and then that will create your confidence level. Especially when you have gone through all this, the data all inside your mind, then you know what it is. Look, if there are 3 examiner or 4 examiner, look, give them one at a time. This is where the important part, where you want to tell them what you have done, and then you deserve a pass. Or at least, maybe some area that maybe not, then they don't have good reason to fail you after you explain all. So your confidence level is important. Like I said earlier on, during start of my presentation just now, everybody got butterfly in their tummy. Come to presentation, viva. Everybody, it's normal. But when you know a lot, of information, all the steps that you have taken, all the processes you have taken, all the sleepless night, all your regressions, your multiple regressions, all this, then you get a better understanding. You know best. Because I remember many of my professors told me, after you graduate with your PhD, you are the best person in that particular field, in that particular subject matter, in that particular topic that you do. Even the professors, the one who has already got the PhD 30 years ago, they are not better than you in that area. You are better because you are doing the in-depth study. When the professor, they have done many other studies, true. They have supervised many other students, yes, true. But then again, they did not go that deep. You went day in, day out, day night, day in, day out, and then you gone through everything, then you makan, tidur, play football, or things with it. That's it. Sometimes, I got idea while taking shower. While shower, then I run out my room and then write down. What is the idea? This quite common. My wife, ask me, what are you doing? No, don't quiet, don't disturb me. I got an idea, I want to write down. So this is how, when we do PhD, there's some people were saying to me that, what happened, Rasul, when you got PhD? What is the acronym PhD stand for? Permanent head damage, they call it. My God, I said, maybe to a certain extent it's true also. Hide your mountains of data after the Q&A. Now, another thing, I forgot to mention here. I noticed this quite a lot of mistake done by PhD candidate, MSc candidate. They are so confident with the finding, they use my result, confirm that. This is social science. Don't use the word confirm. We are social science. There are so many things, so many variables, internal variable, external variable. There's so many factors can change in social science. So use a safer term. Use a more humble term. My result indicates, my result seems to be in favor of this. My result seems to be suggest this. That should be safe one. If you say that my evidence confirm that this. I noticed that some of you like that. But if you come across examiner who are very, very senior, who have gone through so many things, how do you know? You are doing social science. You're not doing COVID-19 in the lab test, you see? You provide all the environment. A lot of times, we don't do natural observation. We base on data. There's a lot of things that can affect your data. So your results, based on these variables, the independent variable, the predictor, some people call it, can predict what will happen to this if this is the conditions. And lastly, hide your mountains of data after the Q&A. You see now, this could be your last slide. This could be your last slide, and this slide is come before the Q&A. So what I'm trying to say here, hide your mountains of data behind after the Q&A. If this page is the 15 pages, and then you put it at the back after the Q&A. Move to the next slide, please. Next slide. We got a few more slides. Wait, there's some problem with some technical errors. Or sometimes you have to come early to your during presentation day, enter to the room early, and you test all this. A lot of times when important, then that thing is not there. That thing is not to your favor. This is not available. That is not available. Always keep a copy, email to yourself, or keep in the drive. Keep few copies with you that easily accessible, because you might lose your laptop, you might lose this, you might lose that, or your laptop doesn't work. Don't put all basket into one, and don't put all eggs into one basket. So maybe you need to have few. So the next one, contribution and policy implication. This is where when you start of the thesis, the analysis, your motivations, then lead to the problem statement and whatnot. So now you already find, you already got your results, you already got the findings. So you have already interpret. Can that contribute? Can that contribute? If can contribute, then you explain how it can contribute to the body of knowledge, contribute to the policy maker. All this you need to explain better, because sometimes examiner they couldn't see the applications of your finding. So you yourself have to point that. In what way the finding contribute to body knowledge, how it's important to policy maker, elaborate your overall conclusion, explain in what way your finding extend the body knowledge. Again, your findings help policymakers. Move to the next one. This is my overall tips. Try to time your presentation 1 slide, 1 minute. That is normal rule of thumb, 1 slide, 1 minute. If you need to take more because you explain the motivation or the problem statement, you put too many things in 1 slide, you may take more. Okay, fine, but make sure it doesn't cram the slide. Make sure it's clear in a PowerPoint base, in a bullet point, and then the audience can, one glance, they can know what you want to do. And then proofread, spelling, grammar, spacing, formatting. Proofread you yourself, or you pass it to your friend. Your friend can help you spelling, grammar. Because when you have a lot of grammar error, it just indicates that you are a person who are disorganized. You don't want to show them what is your weakness at that point. So it is a very simple. You can avoid that kind of perception towards your presentation, your performance, or your sturdiness, all this. So get your friend to do your proofreading. During Q&A, repeat the question. Repeat the question, meaning to say that one is that you understand the question. Number two, you have few seconds for you to gather whatever information for you to answer the question. So repeat the question and then explain in your best. And if you cannot answer, sorry, I can't answer that question. Maybe there are many reasons. Because I still remember in the Bible, they asked me, why can't wakaf, zakat, all those Islamic redistribution mechanism reduce the income inequality? Well, theoretically, yes, but I can't find the data. No countries in the world can give a data pertaining to zakat, pertaining to wakaf contribution, and the direct impact to the poverty. Nobody can give that, because that I cannot answer that question. I have the intention to do it, but I couldn't find it. And don't bullshit. In PhD presentation, you're not supposed to bullshit. Do not bluff. You don't know, tell the truth. Be prepared, know your stuff, rehearse loudly until you feel natural. A lot of time, students or PhD candidate, they rehearse in their mind. Rehearse in their mind. This is not good. You have to utter the words. You have to pronounce it clearly. You have to pronounce loudly. And you need to combine with this mock presentation. You prepare yourself in the toilet, whatever you see the mirror, do it. And then you go out, you ask your friend, come sit in front of me, and then gauge me, judge me, tell me what's wrong with me. Sometimes while you do not know your hand is here, your hand like this, that's bad. That's bad. So you have to control all that because you don't want to distract the attention of the examiner. So get your friend to advise you what is wrong. Then they tell you what the do's and the don't. Be prepared. And when I say be prepared, you have to go through so much so that you know the name of the theory, the year it was published, and then the conflicting theory, and then your results. No, be prepared. Ensure ample time for summary and conclusion. And like I said just now, this is the timing. The rule of thumb, 1 minute per slide. If you can take 1 minute per slide, then you probably have enough time for this summary and conclusion. Normally, viva, they will give you about 20 minutes. Viva will give you about 20 minutes to present, and then that 20 minutes, if take 1 minute per slide on the average, then you need 20 minutes. So that is the rule of thumb. But for this colloquium, students are given only 10 minutes. All right? Yeah. You are given only 10 minutes to present. So you gauge it. If you can do in one slide, it's okay, go ahead. But I don't think you can do that, you see. But don't use too many slides. A lot of students, sometimes when they present, they spend so much time in the introduction, into this problem statement, into their research objective, and then literature review. These are the areas that students use so much of their time. And as a result of that, you got not enough time for you to prepare this conclusion, to do the summary. And you don't summary, you don't pack into the audience, the examiner mind, what is your finding, what you're trying to do. You need time for that. You need time for that. So plan your presentation. So I think the next slide. Oh yeah, this is the evaluation criteria for those who participate in proposal defense. Look at here. Right? At all level, you are given points. And then the answer is less than 50 marks is unsatisfactory. When you say unsatisfactory, most likely you have to do it again. So meaning to say your chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 is not enough. Or it's enough, maybe it's enough, but then the way you present it, as a result, you cannot give the number 3 and number 4. You spend so much time in background, in the literature review. So you have to plan your time. They're given satisfactory, then you go and proceed. For those who already passed their proposal defense, then you can gauge yourself according to this matrix. Introduction, 15 marks. Literature review, 25 marks. Research methodology, 20 marks. Ability to interpret research result, 10 marks. You see, ability to interpret research. So this ability is important in the sense that your result must tell something, must infer something. You need to interpret this result in a simple way, in a layman term, so that the audience know, oh, this is your result. Okay, good. They can relate to your question, to your research objective, to your research question. So you need to explain that properly, clearly. Discussion, contribution to the body of knowledge, 20 points. So if you notice, it carry 20 points. So you spend 2 years in doing this study, and then you must know what is the contribution. Or at least sometime in the beginning itself, you know what expected of this finding, where it can contribute. You see, not all findings, not all results can solve the world problem. I don't think so. But at least, certain portion of it, you can contribute to the body of knowledge. And overall performance, clear, systematic, logic presentation, time management, audience contact. A lot of people, this is a very wrong. When you present, don't show your backside to your audience. Very rude. Do not show your backside to audience. Always stand, face your audience. What you want to do, then glance like this. Never show your backside to the audience, because you show disrespect. People don't like to see your backside. How good your backside is, you are not interested. We are more interested in what you do. Because before we come there, we read. All the examiner will be given a copy of your thesis, they spend days to read your thesis, and then they want to finish within that 20 minutes and probably question and answer 1 hour. But I was told there are cases, not during my time, there are cases that it take 5 hours for Q&A. Imagine, why is like that? More often than not, because the presentation. More often than not, because sometimes the methodology is wrong. Methodology is wrong, and that one is catastrophic. They can affect your findings catastrophically. And yeah, is there any? Okay. Now, for those who have questions, any questions so far? You can use the microphone. Some questions. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rasul. Now is the time for Q&A. Right. Let me read the first question. The first question is, how can we create a robust conceptual model for supply chain management studies? Is there any standard number of interviews for a robust model? First
and foremost, I'm not in supply chain business. I'm in Islamic finance. I'm in finance. So if you ask that question, I think the best person to answer is your supervisor, who I know, probably Prof. Bakar, Prof. Norizan. They know better. I cannot answer. If I don't know, I better not answer. But when you say about how many questionnaires, based on Sekaran, based on many other theories, you say that you need to have not less than 250 if you do survey. With that 250, you have a more coverage. But some of them, they're doing small. But again, I believe the supervisor has a better idea of what is your level or robustness based on your answer. Next question.
All right. Next question is, kindly explain again robustness of model.
Okay. Robustness of model. I will explain according to my field. According to my field, let's say this is your Y, and then your constant plus your X1. Let's say in this case, financial development, and then plus other things. My focal variable will be financial development. So the topic of my study was, what is the impact of financial development on income inequality? That financial development, it can be Islamic finance, it can be conventional finance. So they want to see what is the impact of these changes in this on this. So changes on this, a 1 unit change in this financial development increase, for example, and then what is the marginal effect on the Y or the Gini coefficient. So when you talk about robustness, one of the robustness is that look into the proxy that you use. These are the proxy. One is a private credit. Number 2 is liquid liability. When I say private credit, it's meaning to say that how much loan given in the market through the private sector. If the loan increase a lot, theory say that there'll be more opportunity for them to expand their business. As a result of that, they can sell more product, and then they can employ more people. When they employ more people, and then people being unemployment down, so income of the workers increase, employment in the country increase, and then that will reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. Now, this is the focal variable, which is my focal. But when say robustness, as far as this, now what happened to the same model if I were to change from private credit to liquid liability? First and foremost, you have to explain. This proxy, liquid liability, is about liability of the financial intermediary. The banks, they take deposit from the depositors. That from the bank account, it is a bank liability towards the depositors. So this liability have an impact also on the income inequality. We want to see whether liability increase, meaning to say deposits in the bank increase. Does it have a positive effect or negative effect? My finding, it shows that when deposits increase, when so many people, rich people getting richer, and they put the money in the bank, then the liability, liquid liability improves. However, income inequality become wider. Meaning to say, these rich people become richer because of this financial development. When the economy expand, the financial intimidation expand, the market capitalization of financial is expand, then the one benefit most is the rich people. This one effect of capitalism. That is what we mean by robustness. Or some people, they may change the proxy of this dependent variable. And some of you, maybe you need to add more. You want to test what if, this is what we call the mediating or the interaction. Mediating or interaction. Now, when you say mediating, what is the impact of the mediation? Does it change this? Does it change this? Or you change the other factors, other mediating variable or the interaction variable. Does it change your finding? This is what we're saying, that robustness. Next question. Oh yes, yes. Pure. The question is whether pure is a must before PD, or in other words, is it colloquium is a must? It is. You read the PhD guideline, it clearly spell out. Not only PhD, those people doing MSc is a must. You have to present. Like I said earlier on, everybody got to go through the process. There will be 3 presentations. Yes, colloquium, which is pure. Number 2, PD presentation. Number 3, viva presentation. So remember that you have to. And this colloquium, it is a good avenue for you to know how good is your preparation. How deep have you done in that particular subject matter, particular topic. So the examiner will, even though they ask you questions, even though they might discredit you, whatever it is, but their intention is that to gauge you. You need to gauge yourself. How do you know? This professor will tell you whether you are doing enough or not. So that is first part. For you to prepare yourself for the proposal defense. Once you go through that part, you got good, and then you have more confidence. Practice make perfect. Next question, please.
For colloquium, which elements are important to present as time is limited?
Yeah. Remember the last slide just now? Will you show all this? Maybe you need to share. Go to the last slide. The last slide before the Q&A. These are the elements. These I can only we can only give you the general, but you have to think yourself what is more important. And like I said just now, you prepare and then practice and do mock-up with your friends. Then you gauge. If you want to record, you record. Practice make you more confident. If you don't practice, I doubt you can go through this presentation successfully. So you have to practice. Practice, you know what is your limit, what is your shortcoming, what is your weaknesses. Next question.
Why are some independent variables significantly related to dependent variable?
I should ask question to you guys, not you ask me. It's your topic. If you ask me the same my topic, then I answer for you. That's right. You need to know why. This is where you read 150 articles in that particular area. So independent variable, there are many independent variable, many, like for example, this one, in one independent variable, this is one IV. This one IV. Alright? And this is my focal IV. And this for my focal IV, then this I got two proxy. I can use either one. But I prefer to do this. Alright? And why it's not significant? Only you can tell. This is where I come from the literature. And I advise you, a tips given to me by my supervisor last time, try to do a topic where you have 3 findings. Mean to say in the literature, they have done literature and then they come up with 3 findings. Some of them come up negative findings, is mean to say significance. Some of them find out positive, some of them find out insignificant. So all the 3, so that when your paper doing the same subject matter, and then whatever you're finding, you can easily, my finding concur with this paper. My finding, even though not so accurate, not so direct, but however it presents the same image, the same message about this. Then you can relate. Don't try to do very, very ambitious, want to do. Nobody have done this before in the world. Wow, I tell you, you cannot compete within 3 years, you see. You cannot compete within 3 years of your PhD. Right. So you need to understand via your literatures. Read. You see one. That's why I said earlier on in the first or second slide. Second slide, I think. I said that while you reading, as recommended by the research methodology professor, that you have to come up with a matrix. You read, you do Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to that matrix, to that Excel. And then my another advice is this. Even this morning, I went through with my students. You make sure that you are really good with Mendeley, the reference system. That's free. I'm not good with words, no, but I'm pretty good with Mendeley. Mendeley, they give you one function which is very, very relevant, and I use it quite often. When I want to do literature, I load all my literatures into that Mendeley as my data bank. And then when I want to see, for example, this morning I was searching awareness. I just key in at the top, at the search awareness. It come out whatever. You have 200, 300 in data bank of your Mendeley, your literature bank, and then it come out all the awareness. From there, I say, oh, this one, I click. You don't keep hard copy. Crazy for you to keep hard copy. So you keep it there, then easier for you to keep researching. So again, I repeat, make sure you do your reading together with copy and paste of those important elements in that particular literature, and keep expanding it. Keep expanding whatever it is. Sometimes you see, use this independent variable number 1, independent variable number 2. Other people don't use this, they use this. When they use this independent variable, what's the reason? Because a lot of time, the examiner will keep asking, why? They know sometimes, but they want to test you whether what they know is same as what you know, or you know better. They keep asking you why. And in fact, if you have to Google what is the common PhD question given during viva. There's a lot in the internet. There's a lot. Next question, please.
Is there any need to explain the selected philosophy during the presentation?
Sorry?
Is there any need to explain the selected philosophy during presentation?
Selected philosophy.
Correct.
Do you mean that is a theory? Is it theory? I'm not too sure. But if you talk about theory, every theory is that relevant to your particular area. For example, like my case just now, the income inequality, the Kuznets theory, 1955, where it shows that the finding is a bit very interesting. Why? X is a financial GDP, and Y is the income inequality. What they call as the Gini coefficient. According to theory, as the country move from agriculture to industrialization, more people leave the agriculture sector and move to the industrial sector, and industrial sector, their rewards is higher as compared to agriculture sector. So they earn more, even though they spend 10 hours per day, but they are reward more. As a result of that, those who move in early, it become positive. Meaning to say, the more people move from agriculture to industrialization, and then their income getting better, but when they move and those people not move, and then the result, is widen the income inequality. So income inequality ratio increasing. This is a positive relationship. But as more people move further into this industrialization industry, then becoming to plateau. So this is first limit, this is second limit. Meaning to say, as more people, there's no effect to the income inequality. So this is what you say that no effect. This is positive. And then later on, as more people move to this one, then the income inequality gain again. So at this moment, the gap as far as the profession they employ in the industrialization industry, then they get more people. So GDP, as indicated, is in the growth of the economy, industrialization grow further, and then they got this, and then go down. So I'm not too sure what that philosophy means, but I believe, I think it's about theory. And this is the seminal paper, the most important theory when you talk about income inequality or poverty. Next question, please.
Is there a specific format to explain statement of problem?
A specific
Format to explain statement of problem.
Well, like I said just now, I presented. I don't see any other format. Yeah, as simple as that. You tell them what you want to do, based on the motivation, based on the gap that you understand, this area that you want to do. So when you talk about format, I'm not too sure what actually in the many format, but the way I see it in finance, sometimes 2 pages is more than enough in the problem statement. Because that's what you want to do. It's not so much of the reference to other article and whatnot. That's the one that you want to do. If you want to go detail, that one maybe in the literature review or maybe slightly more in the introduction side. But the format, as simple as that, you highlight to them. You find out the gap, then you need to know why. Then you say that economy improve a lot, then why so many people become poor? Why is it? Are we spending money to the wrong side, or whether the money go to the pocket of the policymakers, or what? What actually happened? That you want to find out. And want to find out, you study what is the variables and whatnot. Then from there, you do further study. Next question.
Could you explain on these motivation, justification, and contributions of the study?
Same, I just mentioned just now. That's your motivation and contribution. It's about what you want to do. Do something that you like most. Do something that you think that you can show a lot of significance to the body of the knowledge. You love it. You want to do it. That's it. Go ahead.
For idea presentation, presenter have to explain hypothesis or just explain proposed research model?
Actually, that model, inside that model is already the hypothesis. But it's good for you to mention what is your hypothesis. Because when you do your literature review, there's a positive, negative, they're insignificant. And then they identify what are the variables. So when you structure your literature review according to our format here, first you start with the with the underpinning theory. What are the theory for this particular subject matter? And then you go for the next one is the dependent variable. You explain what is the dependent variable, and then the next one is the independent variable. Your independent variable could be 4, could be 5, could be 10. Whatever it is, you have to explain one by one. And then from there, from this independent variable, every time you already explain the independent variable, then because based on the above discussion, based on the literature, hereby that this is the suggested hypothesis. Hypothesis now is as such. Okay. Then the next one, you don't mention hypothesis null and then hypothesis 1 or hypothesis 2. Only mention hypothesis null. It's good enough. You don't have to mention the alternative. And then when you have done it, the whole this chapter on the literature review, then during the summary, it's good that you put in a table, in the summary, what is your hypothesis. Because this hypothesis will be used when explaining the so-called the model that you have later on. want you to study. For example, hypothesis that saying that the private credit in relationship with this is negative. It significantly impact the income inequality in terms of negative relationship. Private credit go up, income inequality become lower. So the next one, question. Okay. Wow, 1 hour 50 minutes. I didn't expect to be that long. But to students, give your best. From the day one, always give your best. When you do your presentation, always give your best. For you to give the best, for you to know what you're doing, to study what you want to do, and don't simply rush to everything. And then please stay focused. Stay focused. If you want to change your topic, you want to change whatever variable, make sure that you have good reason to do it, because you have already invested your time in the chapter 1, whatever it is, and then chapter 2, the literature review. Please, this is the time for you to show what you have spent. What you have spent, all is the investment. So I wish you all the best, and thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Rasul, for your very fantastic presentation. Good luck to everyone, and we will see you at Pure Series 3.
Can we take photo all?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Everyone, please.
Oh, Dr. Fadil also
on
here.
your video, please.
Please on the video.
Turn on your video. Turn on your video, everyone. We're going to take a picture.
Prof. Rasul, very good. Your presentation, very good, Prof. Rasul.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
Oh, our Dr. Fadil also.
Your good presentation.
Here too.
It's a good presentation.
It's a great program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prof. Wan
Thank
also.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you
for your
Professor.
good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Oh, welcome. Huh? Oh, they still not okay. They still want to take photo. Okay, on again. Sorry, technical issue a bit. Okay.
Everybody appear on the what you call the camera, please. I think there are a few faces not in the camera then.
It's okay. Salasia not here. Tasni.
Yeah, please appear yourself.
But we cannot put all in because not enough space. They got three pages, huh? Okay, the next page. Quite a number of you did not on the video, the audio.
Shida, request them to put the face on.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody, please turn on your video. Please turn on your video. Open your camera. We want to take a picture.
Oh, never mind. We take whatever we have here.
No, I think it's good we have all because they are all our students.
Yeah.
Professor.
Yeah.
It's better that we insist that they have their picture, please. Because it's for record purposes.
Yeah, for record. You see,
Record
our Dr. Fadil for record purposes.
Please, all students, can you show up your face, please?
Okay, maybe we take this one first. The first page. Okay, yeah, take this one first. Okay. Right. Next page. Not all. Mazni, Hafiz. Oh, they keep changing. I keep moving. So take whatever you have. Okay. Some of my students here too. All right. The next page, last page. Oh, done. Some of them already left. Only 2 pages. Okay. All the best, guys. All the best.
All the best.
The best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Can I get the video?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prof.
Everyone.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.